Welcome to Sharing Sox, the Eloy is here edition. I am Southside Sox duty geezer Leigh Allan. With me, my son and West Coast correspondent Will. Together, of course, last week we very cleverly got into the retirement of the Yermín Mercedes, who is now doing very well down the show, hitting the ball very hard and apparently happy. So we're glad I'm retired. I enjoy my retirement, and I'm glad he enjoyed his.
To be fair, you did retire actually a little earlier, and then you came back into work pretty quick too. Your meme
Three
style.
times. I've retired 3 times.
Yeah, and you had a lovely comeback each time. So I get why he did what he did. It makes sense to me.
Meanwhile, the man whose picture is behind Will, for those of you not using video, came out of forced retirement of a sort. Eloy Jiménez making a big splash with a huge 3-run homer on Tuesday night to beat the Royals. And he and Mike Matheny beat the Royals. I still like that may be the worst managed game I've ever seen in the major leagues. Matheny made so many incredibly stupid moves, including walking Jose Abreu to get to Eloy and a 469-foot blast. But he had others, failing to challenge one he would have easily won that could have set up a big end. Anyhow, there were so many. We don't need to spend time on that game. It was nice we won a game. That's good.
I think that was Jose's last free pass ahead of Eloy for the rest of the year.
Probably true. I was more amazed with Eloy. We know he can hit a baseball a very long way, but his defense, I don't think it was just happenstance. I think he really has improved. He had a routine, not quite routine, but a fairly easy ball to his right, but he had to run a distance, and he did not do what he has always done, which is take a couple steps the wrong way and then head there. He went directly to the ball. No, seriously, he went directly to the ball. He had to make a throw home, which was kind of a no-pressure situation because the runner was about 2 steps past third, and he was almost on the infield dirt when he threw it. But still, he had to do it. Little offline, but good enough to make the play. And then he had that nice catch right off the grass coming into his left. So going both directions, he was good. He looked faster. I had read that he's heavier and stronger, but he looks thinner.
I agree. I'm surprised.
I just think he looks svelte.
Yeah, he looks like he's in great shape. Yeah, he looks great. Of course, anybody looks better at defense when Andrew Vaughn is your right fielder and Brian Goodwin's your center fielder. That is, on paper, just a devastatingly terrible defensive outfield.
And it was, other than Eloy, in reality.
Yeah, so it was nice to come out of that game actually pleased with the play of one of those outfielders, Andrew Vaughn, who I'm not hating on because he's done a really nice job in left field.
He's never played it.
He should not be in right field. Come on, guys, let's figure this out. That was an experiment. We need to be done with it. He can't be a right fielder. He doesn't have the arm. He's never played it. We can't be making the guy learn another position in the outfield at this point of the season. He might be able to do it. He sure made us all, proud of what he did learning to play left field. But yeah, I just don't see Vaughn as a big league outfielder coming in around August. But yeah, I agree with you. Eloy, definitely. And of course, Eloy has a lot to prove out there. He's not playing for playing time right now. He's not trying to impress us to get playing time. The guy's going to play. He's going to DH any game that he's not playing left field. But he's playing to earn his spot on the grass. And, last night was a good sign that Eloy is not necessarily a liability in left field. Do I still think he's going to be good? Not necessarily. However,
I think that was a nice night that may not be repeated, but he didn't hurt himself. He didn't hurt anybody else.
It's left field. So, we're not asking him to play center. We're not asking him to play right. If he can just be fine, that's all right. That is all right. We will take fine because his bat is so far beyond fine that I am absolutely okay with having him just be fine in left field. What we don't want him to be is a liability. And after last night, it could be a fluke, but I've got faith in the guy. To quote Eloy, "Hi, Mom, I'm back." And he certainly seemed like he was back. I cannot tell you how good it felt to see him crank that ball. I don't know if you did you listen to the Royals broadcast at all of that moment?
No.
Benetti's call of it and Stone's call of it, of course, was great. The Royals broadcast, the guys are talking, and they throw a pitch to Eloy, and the Royals broadcaster goes, "First pitch strikes are good, but you don't want to put it right there." And then he as the pitcher's winding up, he goes, "Let's just hope he doesn't throw another." Oh, he did. And then
A hanging slider.
Yeah, the ball was just absolutely crushed, and man, great to see that. Great to see that from Eloy. I had no doubt his bat was going to come back firing like that, but wow, he really gave us something to be
And
happy
he
about.
also brings, although the Sox have not been in great need of it, have been short of it, he brings joy to the game.
Huge joy.
It's just wonderful to watch him, watch his effect on the people around him. Billy Hamilton does the same thing, but Billy Hamilton can't hit the ball 469 feet. So now we got two guys. In fact, ideally, if it was true last night late in the game, I guess it was Engel in center and defensively, but if you had Eloy in left and Billy Hamilton in center for defensive purposes late, that's like the happiest outfield in the history of the world.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Yeah, just so great to have him back. Also, seeing Luis head to Charlotte, pretty great news. I cannot believe that Luis is already going to AAA. That means he is going to be back very soon.
2 or 3 weeks.
Within 20 days. So we're going to have Luis back in August without a doubt. And that outfield of Eloy potentially in left, Eloy or Vaughn, Luis in center, and Adam Engel in right, with potentially some Billy Hamilton here or there. That is not something to be disappointed in. This is what we have been waiting for. This is why I have said let's not make any crazy transactions we could regret, because getting these guys back makes us a different team, both in terms of the spirit of the team, the morale of the team. Not that we ever had bad morale, because our team is full of good leaders. But my goodness, what a difference it makes to put we saw it immediately. Putting Eloy behind Jose takes all of the pressure off of Jose. I think we are going to see Jose tick up 20 points in batting average now, because Jose is going to go up and he's going to be thinking, my job's to get on base so that Eloy can hit the ball 460 feet, and that's how we're going to play baseball. And that is what we need from him. Get Moncada up there healthy and swinging. This lineup is fierce. One thing I want to talk about, which was kind of interesting, was Danny Mendick catching pregame the other day, yesterday, I guess, or 2 days ago. Danny Mendick is apparently the emergency catcher, and according to the Sox coaching staff, he was doing pretty well back there, which already puts him as a better catcher than Collins and as good as Zavala. So I don't know what all that's about. I don't know if that means they're going to try to move one of the other two guys or what's going to happen. It seems goofy that Danny Mendick could ever be a catcher in the big leagues. However,
I think you always have an emergency catcher so that you can pinch hit for your catcher, as happened last night. And then if the other guy gets hurt, you get that. I think Yolmer was the emergency catcher for all the time he was on the team.
Well, that makes sense because he's the best player we've ever had. He can play any position, and all he does. Also, to your credit, actually against your credit, when you said that Billy Hamilton can't hit the ball as far as Eloy, you have to remember Billy Hamilton has more home runs than Eloy this season. So
That's true. Yeah,
you need to look at stats. Baseball's a game
yeah,
of stats,
twice as
so I
many.
need you to look at the stats. I mean, he has got 100% more home runs than Eloy Jiménez. That is a huge number for all my stat nerds out there. But yeah, so I don't know what's gonna happen with that. But wow, we're gonna get Luis back probably within 2 weeks. This team is going to look a lot more like how we thought it was going to look, and I am so excited. The big problem for me is catcher. Catcher is
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
really
The
bad.
question is, does Yasmani come back healthy enough to catch? Because with the knee surgery like that, they say, oh, he's doing well and he's running well. Every athlete says, I'm really doing well and I'm coming along. That's what they do. And catchers especially, you're the toughest of them all. And grain or two of salt with all of that for sure. Really, of course, the regular season just doesn't matter. I don't. I guess they need something to talk about. But Jason and Stoney are going, well, Cleveland's 9.5 games back now. So what? It doesn't matter. It can win this game. The Sox go 500 the rest of the regular season, win the division by 10 games. This division is hard, and poor Cleveland. You got to feel sorry for the Guardians. They're all totally dependent on pitching, and all of their pitchers. I guess they got Zach Plesac back. Otherwise, the whole starting rotation's out. They're no challenge. And another thing Stoney's brought up, and I had thought before he mentioned it, and I agreed with when he said it, but it turns out we're both wrong, is the tremendous importance, very important, the niceness of being the #1 overall record, which is the real thing that Jason and Stoney should be talking about. Should be comparing us to Houston and either Tampa Bay or Boston, whoever's on top at the time, not to the rest of the AAA Central. But they were saying, well, the wild card, since it's been 5 teams, so 2 wild cards, is such a disadvantage because you use up your #1 pitcher for the wild card game, and then the team you have to play has the #1 record. They got the #1 against your #2, which would be your #2 against the #3, and they never break it. Actually, the wild card team has their one against you. Anyhow, this happens. But I just looked it up. In the 2 wild card era, which is 8 years, not going to count last year, which was just a joke, which was 8 years, 3 times the wild card team has gone on to win their first round, the division series. And then the National League, 4 times. So 50-50 winning it. And of course, San Francisco won the World Series coming out of the wild card. So it's not as big a deal as it seems. You go and think about it and go, boy, that's a big deal. Apparently, in reality, on the field, it's not that big a deal. Nice, much better than not having that, but not huge.
Well, and you and I we've been preaching this all season. There's so much negativity, especially on Twitter, surrounding this team. And you and I have been absolutely correct. And we don't have to worry about making the playoffs. We just don't. Our division is so unbelievably pathetic that when we go on a 5-game losing streak, if it happens, everyone else is probably going to be on a 4-game losing streak. So we could lose 5 games in a row and only lose 1 game in the standing. The AAA Central, I think, is a great way to phrase it. Now, we did just play a very poor week of baseball. We did not play well against Milwaukee for the most part, with the exception of Lance Lynn single-handedly getting the job done. And then losing that first game to the Royals was pretty pathetic as well. But that being said, we're up. What are we up today? 9.5 or 10?
Maybe 10. Cleveland lost.
I don't even keep track of how far up we are anymore, because that's just not the concern. And that's what you and I have been saying all year, is that we just had to stay afloat until we got these guys back. And look where we are. We're getting them back. We're more than afloat. We're up 10 games, essentially. And we're looking at a second half where we're going to add multiple All-Stars, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, potential future MVPs. It's just crazy.
Young.
Our deadline, our trade deadline, and we'll talk more about this in the second half, but our trade deadline is a lot more about getting these guys back in time than it was about going out and getting another star. Do we need to make some moves? Absolutely. I really do think we need to make some moves. But we will talk about that. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and let's talk about pitching. Not only starting pitching and how they have been used so much, but also let's talk about the bullpen woes and what we could potentially do to fix that. So we will be right back in just a second here on Sharing Sox. All right, welcome back to Sharing Sox. We talked about the sort of fire that has been lit under the butts of the offense with Eloy coming back. But let's talk about pitching, and let's start with starting pitching and the use of these pitchers. I know that you have a lot of feelings about this.
Yeah, I wandered into a statistic kind of accidentally. I was looking at other things and happened to scroll over far enough on the advanced pitching stats or something to get to use of starting pitchers and how many pitches they have thrown. And the White Sox have 33 games now where our starting pitchers have gone at least 100. And I looked at Dylan Cease specifically yesterday because he only had a couple of those. I thought, well, that's good. But he's had 299s and a 98. So it's not far off the mark. The next is the Reds at 26. Of the competitive teams, the next is the A's at 24. These people, yeah, part of it is our starting pitchers are very good, so they're not getting knocked out in the third inning. Or very rarely does that happen. But it's also the question. I mean, Stoney would just say, who has much more expertise than I was saying, you got to really watch your use of your pitchers this year. They didn't have normal full seasons last year. Rodon hasn't had a normal full season for 3 years. I think it's 40 innings each of the last two seasons, just barely pitched at all. Cease has never gotten up into big numbers ever. 120 maybe is the most ever. He's going to pass that in the next week or two with the way the use is going. And the others have had more innings at one time or another. But Keuchel last year wore out in September in a 2-month season, and he looks kind of like he's wearing out right now. These guys need some kind of break out there. And yes, it could be that La Russa is brilliant. Yeah, he's the Hall of Famer, and he just thinks what you do. The more you use them, the stronger they're going to be come October. No other manager believes that, and I don't think I believe it either. Now, we've still got 2 months. The fact
science also has an issue with with that concept.
So I think there's a real question on the use of the starting pitchers. Now, it's only late July. He could very well be planning to stagger them some. We don't have much of a sixth starter to give him a break. Yes, Kopech is so great in the bullpen; he just needs to be there. But still, have them. It doesn't matter that we have terrible bullpen except for Kopech and Hendricks. Have your starter go 5 innings instead of 6 or 7, so that you're not putting all that much pressure on us. And yes, the guys that come in, Hoyer and Bummer and who knows, Ruiz, they're not good. They've been good, but they're not good now, and that's too bad. But if we lose a game because of that, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Every decision that this team should be making should be about October. It just, with the division that we're in, it makes no sense to run these pitchers into the ground like this. I would actually say, moving forward, any game where you have a lead of 3 runs or more after 5, the starting pitcher's gone regardless of how they're pitching.
Unless it's a no-hitter.
And unless it's a no-hitter. And, even then, if the pitch count is, if it's a no-hitter in the 5th and their pitch count's up around 70, 80 pitches, you still pull it, because you're not going to get to the end of the 9th inning without throwing 150 pitches. And these White Sox pitchers throw a lot of pitches. So I definitely think that, 3 runs or more after 5, the starter is just gone no matter what. And if the bullpen loses that game, they lose that game. That's something that we'll deal with. I personally think that we should be very bullpen focused at this trade deadline. if we're going to give up any prospects or any of our guys, I want it to be for a solid bullpen arm. And I'm not talking a famous arm. I'm not. We have the closer. I don't think we need to go out and try to get Craig Kimbrell. What we
Although,
need
can you picture a team having to face the eagle of Craig Kimbrell, followed by the Aussie hyper of Liam
oh my
Hendricks?
gosh, it would be terrifying.
Your head would be exploding every time he came to bat.
Yeah, I mean, to face Kimbrell in the 8th and Hendricks in the 9th would. I don't know of a better.
Just to face him, forget the ball coming at you, just facing them on the mound.
Just even having to look at those two guys and just knowing that they're perfectly fine with exploding your body with a fastball would be very nerve-wracking. But I really think we need to be looking at middle relief, just guys who don't cost an arm and a leg, but can go out there with an ERA between 3 and 4. That's all we need. We have a great closer. Kopech has putting up video game numbers, which, by the way, I play with Kopech very often in my video game of Major League Baseball. And Kopech in real life is actually better than video game Kopech right now. So he's actually putting up better than video game.
He can't pitch that often either. I mean, you can't
exactly
Kopech because he really hasn't pitched at all.
Well, that's why I'm saying we need those middle relief guys. We just need guys who can get through an inning with 1 or less runs so that we're not trying to pitch Kopech every day and just getting the ball to Liam Hendricks with a lead in the 9th inning.
My setup for October on the trade deadline, and again, this is Wednesday afternoon, we're 2 days away. By the time we finish talking, everything could change. It's not to go to the dregs, but to go to the Nationals and give them fairly good prospects or a combination of Josh Harrison and Daniel Hudson. 2-for-1 deal on our problems being resolved. If you have, you're going to give up something for that.
Yeah.
But I think that would be the ideal situation to have. Washington hems and haws about whether they're selling. They have no chance.
They're selling. They're selling.
Yeah. So, but you hem and haw in order to get a better deal. That's natural kind of thing to do. But I would love to see that. And you probably, I found this out, you probably at one time or another were in a hallway with Josh Harrison.
How so?
He is your age, same age, exactly 34. And he went to Princeton High, which is, we're talking the Princeton High that is in the suburbs of Cincinnati, and which is a major speech and debate school. So was Will's high school. So every year, Will was down at Princeton at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times if they were doing regionals and state or whatever down there. Chances are you passed him in the hallway.
I was walking through the halls of Princeton, and at one point, a guy threw a paper wad at me at about 97 miles an hour, hit me straight in the face. And then I looked over and he goes, "I'm going to be a pro ball player one day." So maybe that was him. Maybe that was him. I don't know.
Let's see who else it could be.
And then the back, his shirt said, "I'm Josh Harrison." But that's probably a different guy. I think that's a great idea to try to get that deal. And this is another thing that's really great about what the Sox could do in the next 48 hours. And why I'm actually not worried about them doing it as we speak on this podcast is when you have a 10-game lead, you can wait. You can wait. You do not have to be the people who are nipping at the bud to try to get these guys and spending big on them. These teams want to unload people as much as you want to get them. So when you have a 10-game lead, you can wait until those packages go down. I think with the package you're proposing, I don't think we have to give up anyone too great for that package. I think you're going to give up some guys, you're going to give up some young prospects, but I definitely don't think you're losing Vaughn or Sheets. And that's kind of, a core we need to protect. Could Berger go in a transition like that? Yeah, that could happen. And we've got guys that play his abilities. Adolfo's perfect trade bait, to be honest. I think Adolfo's a great trade chip. So I think that would be a great move. And, if they throw Max Scherzer into the package for, you know, but cash
Well, I think if they
considerations,
throw Max Scherzer into the package, that we no longer have either Sheets or Berger or possibly Vaughn.
or possibly Moncada, Abreu,
Yeah.
Jimenez, Luis
Well,
Roberts.
there's some others out there. Ian Kennedy, of course, is not, as far as I know, gone off the board yet. Texas is pretty desperate. And one I had never thought of, still I looked at some of this, is Yimi Garcia of Miami. Not sure what Miami needs or wants, but that's certainly another possibility. Yeah,
I
there are a
mean,
lot of relievers out there. We could mutter forever about them. We could also
yeah.
forget half a dozen of them that would be good choices. But yeah, relievers number one. If a second baseman came along, that's why I really like the Harrison thing. You get your second baseman and a pretty good reliever. Yes, they're rentals, so you don't give up Andrew Vaughn, but you give up something. You don't hold out and say, oh no, you can only have this guy who's down in single A.
Hey, and of all the I think of all the things we've been wrong about, calling Lance Lynn one and done was, I guess, the thing we were most wrong about, because we had strong doubts that he was not going to come back after this
Yeah.
year,
Yeah,
and
I
he
figured if he has a great year, then the money from the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers will come running. That was, Rick Hahn, for all, he has weaknesses sometimes in trades, not necessarily brilliant on free agents, does some well, blows some, it happens. Drafting, fairly good up first round after that, whatever. What
yeah.
he's really, really good at, and so was Kenny before him, is getting extensions that are very team friendly. Think of Chris Sale. But it goes on. They're in now
Oh,
Jose.
think of all these guys: Jimenez, Robert, Chris Sale being a great example. We're hoping it happens with Giolito. I, it's amazing, and I think a lot of it, not only is it Han, but I think a lot of it is the atmosphere of playing for the White Sox. They have like it's almost a small market vibe, but you're in a big market. And especially now, I think this team is just so exciting. I think players all around the country see these guys and how much fun they're having and think this is an environment for me. Because obviously, guaranteed rate is not, it's not the park you dream about playing in when you grow up as a little kid. You probably dream more about playing in Wrigley. But there is something special about this White Sox team, especially right now, where there is a fierce, despite how we're in first place by 10 games, a fierce underdog attitude that these guys play with, because they don't get the respect that a lot of the other great teams get. And you're starting to see, at least in Los Angeles, you're starting to see White Sox hats pop up all over the place again. So the team is gaining national recognition. Every single game looks like it is the time of their lives. Like I've never seen a team look like they have this much fun playing baseball as this current White Sox team. And that only gets, you bring Eloy back, it only gets better. You bring Luis back, it only gets better. So, I think we're going to be able to make some deals. I don't think we're going to have to give up that much, and I think we could possibly extend anybody who comes and does a great job for us, because I do think players want to come to the South Side right now. And Lance Lynn sort of confirmed my theory on that, because Lance Lynn could have gone to LA, could have gone to New York, could have gone to Boston in the
Could have made a
offseason.
lot more money.
Could have made a lot more money. Now, we didn't give him a bogus contract. He got 2 years,
No,
38 million. So that is more than we usually give people. However, he could have been throwing for 30 million,
and he could have gotten
in
at
New
least
York.
3 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. He could have been looking at a 3 year, 80 million, $90 million type of thing. And instead he's with us, and I'm excited. Of all the people who just really, not that I thought Lance Lynn wasn't going to be good. We both thought he was going to be good. But in terms of just coming out and seeming like a totally new pitcher and a new level of good, Lance Lynn probably gets the ball in game one of the World Series if it were to happen right now. And that is something, we did not necessarily see coming. At the beginning of the year, I remember being on this podcast and saying, if Lance Lynn's ERA is under 4, he's done what we needed him to do. And he's well under 2 still at this point. So do I think that will hold? I don't know. The thing we talked about earlier of overworking these pitchers certainly could be a problem. However, Lance Lynn seems like he was just born to throw 115 pitches every week. I think the guy would go all 9 every week if you asked him to. So we've had great things happen with him. I think we really just need to go out and get some middle relief at an okay price just to keep these pitchers healthy. Because if we can keep the 4 starters healthy, sorry, Dylan, I'm not including you in this because we don't really need you to be a starter in the playoffs. But if we can keep the 4 starters healthy and keep them rested, this is absolutely a World Series team. If we can't do that, it is not, because our bullpen is so bad that even bringing in 1 good piece, 2 good pieces, it's still a concern. That's how bad our bullpen has been. And shockingly so. I say this every week, but early on, the number one thing that we were not concerned about was the bullpen at the beginning of the season. We thought, well, the bullpen is what's going to get us to the playoffs. It's been a total opposite experience. It's been the starters and the offense, and the offense is only going to get better, so it's crucial.
Yeah, I mean, the offense has done a lot of sagging. I mean, the last couple of weeks, until the 8th inning on Tuesday night, the offense was pretty much not there. Lance Lynn was the best offensive player we had. That's not a good. It's nice, but it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Since he will pitch against a National League team maybe one more time this year.
If that, that's just if it works out that way, I definitely think that the offense is going to come bouncing back, and it's just crucial we get that bullpen because, man, it's just when the starter starts to get to that 100 pitch mark and those relievers are coming in, your stomach just kind of drops right now, just praying you can get to Hendricks, with the exception of Kopech, of course, who is sort of this unicorn in terms of how he can be used right now. He can, he could start a game in the playoffs if you needed him to, but he could also pitch 5 innings of relief if someone got hurt later in the year. So we just got to keep these guys healthy. All right, I think that's about all the time we have for today. Do you have any final thoughts?
Just waiting for the trade deadline.
Waiting for the trade deadline. White Sox fans, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy 48 hours. We'll see how it goes. I've been refreshing our trade sources throughout this, and nothing's happened. I think prepare yourself for a great experience at the deadline, and also prepare yourself for absolutely nothing to happen, because it could honestly go either way. I'm fine with it going either way, but we need relief pitching. And we will leave you with that. Thank you so much. We will see you next week on Sharing Sox.